And I have my other thing happening. So meet Sarah. So this is kind of our soul, our cosmic soul source. And then I have, if you're watching me on Instagram, Sir Diddy, my Wedame, is on my lap. These are elemental beings in the elemental or other world. So this was my Sarah. Like, you'll get the full exposure on Instagram, but you get what you get, right? Sometimes. So again, ashe and blessings to you, my energetic beings. Tonya D here. Just spreading the muse. I'm ready. If you're ready to change your stars and navigate your intuitive gifts and live your life with purpose, be sure to take my Change Your Stars intuitive quiz. It's up there. And join me for my weekly webisode where I share insight into different intuitive gifts. I've been doing these webisodes. It's a series on Sundays from 11 a.m. Mountain Time. So this Sunday, I'm actually going to elaborate on the spiritual and the physical kinesthetic gifts that we all have. And today, this is just my second. Say hi, Diddy. There you go, buddy. I'm covering the second Trinity and building your inner Merkabah, or outer for that matter as well. It's just this cosmic highway of consciousness streaming. So I've already done kind of the first Trinity. You can check out the videos if your soul-inspired self is inspired to do so. But I'm creating a conscious round table. I call it my queendom. So I invite you to create your round table as well, because each spirit in my queendom actually has a magical gift. Engage your inner intuitive goddess. But today I want to explore the rebel inside of us. So this is an aspect inside of us. It's kind of revolutionary, more of a pioneer. It's kind of like James Dean and A Rebel Without a Cause, but I think he did have a cause though. So just incorporating principles of cosmology, astrology, numerology, sound, light, Ayurvedic principles, Chinese principles, chakras, meridians, the energetic field, the aura, and so much more. And we all have these. It's just what rebel inside of you. I do divinations. It's the Dagara cosmology, hence the Sarahs, along with 4 pillars of destiny, feng shui, and so much more. It's the elemental realm. It's more earth star or 10th energy center based. So it basically tells your soul story, or where your soul is coming from. And it also tells the soul like where it's coming from. So every day, whether we see it or not, there's magic out there, maybe not, because nature is always in transition every nanosecond, and really, and so are we. So just exploring how everything fits together in the conscious cosmology, from planets to crystals, herbs, essential oils, light, whatever it is you play with in your playground. So spirit actually manifests everywhere. And this is an aspect of our beingness that I sense people are not connected to, or they're not connected with. So it's like we forgot how to stay on our soul channel and stay curious and question everything. It's just what's going down on this conscious or unconscious river through life inside of us is this inner rebel, the side of us that questions or kind of instigates where or what we belong doing, or maybe don't belong doing, stuff like that. So it's the planet Uranus, which is one of my star grids, and it's the sign that's actually, it's transiting Taurus right now. So what we're manifesting, Taurus, is in total rebellion or in a revolution, earth plane. It just depends on how you perceive it in your reality, because human beings have literally forgotten to integrate this aspect of who we are. I think it just comes, for me, it comes frequently or in a frequency. So just the last time this was entered into our reality, it's kind of the age of Aquarius. So if you were to dive into a timeline, that would be like 26,000 years ago. I would think it's more Palladian or Lemurian kind of a feeling, a frequency, where we used crystals more. And we're kind of in a tailspin of just being in ignorance in reality. It's kind of foggy. because it's hard to understand. So it's kind of the creation of conflict on the earth right now. It's like where we're here to manifest what our spirit and our soul are writing in our soul story. So if you're naturally aware of where things truly belong in God universe for yourself and your star grid, it's this stage in consciousness or leveling where it's our guiding light. It just knows where our heart shines from, this inner aspect of ourselves. Say hi, Diddy. So our heart just really knows where it wants to go, and it's just drawing up just different maps for our own inner queendom, our own round table, our own fortress to journey in. And this is kind of just how you see the world, or what you'll want to find yourself in a jurisdiction in the world, or what you will or what you won't rule in a way. So this is all choreographed by the rebel inside of us. It's the part of us that motivates us, really. It could be instigating change, or it can be a rebel going against the grid. It's just a natural part of humanity to have this inside of us. Some of us put it on the back burner, some of us really on the front burner, because we all want to innovate and just make things better and brighter and shine organically the light that's inside of us. However, what's happening for us, the truth is that we all outgrow a certain level of our beingness. And once you outgrow a certain level of your beingness, then that's when we upcycle and elevate into another level. It's just a natural conscious wave or step. So it's this sense of where we truly belong in the choreography of our life story. So this inner rebel inside of us is present all the time. Mine kind of comes from an outdoor village in conscious stream where the universe moves me. And so for a lot of us, what does this look like, right? Or maybe at least for myself, what this looks like is when I realized I didn't belong in part of the cool group at the lunch table in high school. It was just part of this group where, you just feel you don't belong there. And I'm sure partly it's because, I have jolly red hair, which you can't see under this, but according to my son, he actually made it orange, which is great. So we retaliate and we go against the grain. Maybe we choreograph an argument for us, because just doing things that you wouldn't naturally do, and you rebel against whatever it is, it's like stopping the flow of the stream. So it's this rebel inside of us that kind of stirs up and starts the trouble, or responds to it in a way. It can be both things. It's just searching for its inner independence, its freedom. It's like Uranus. It's this choreography of change and revolution. So it's curious for me now that Uranus is in Taurus. We have Pluto in Capricorn. I'll kind of muse about that a little bit, but it's the ability of being the original person we are. That's why I have my Siura on. Yeah, you guys can't see it as great as Instagram, but I'm multitasking. So the Siura is our soul, our source of our soul, like what we look like in the other dimensions. This our originality, that's kind of what it feels like. So it's this aspect of being Aquarian inside of us. It's just where our natural rebel is cosmically born. So that's just kind of the personality of Uranus. It's the 11th house, Aquarius. Just being attuned to where things naturally belong in our galactic corridor, the universe. Often, it's the revolutionaries. And right now I see Trump as a rebel with a cause right now. People don't like it, but he's instigating change. And we're seeing this revolution in our government, like hugely, right? Which is not just failing, but it's actually falling as well. So it's going through this cosmic rebirthing. So it's this part of us that won't rest inside of us, of our beingness, until things get orderly. It's like truth and justice are literally restored in the galactic corridor, this rebel queendom. So it's also the part of us that can create inner pains. It's the aspect of who we are that can be just a total instigator, rebel, defiant. Or for me, like I'm a recluse. I prefer to be reclusive. So if things are out of order that interest my inner queendom, my heart space, I get bored naturally, basically. So it's kind of the aspect that will nag you to shift or change, or maybe it sabotages your plans. So especially if you want to make God laugh, tell God your plans. Huh. So it's the aspect where you might say too much to somebody, your tongue might go viral. Maybe you push their buttons, you're triggering them without consciously meaning to. You play games that are useless with emotions, right? Maybe you taunt someone and, or even yourself for that matter, but it's the part of us that's kind of the mean little kid, like in A Christmas Story, that little boy that is always picking on the main character and beating him up. And then the brother finally, his inner rebel came out. So that's the rebel inside of us. And this rebel is willing to do anything and everything up to a revolution in order to restore the galactic harmony. So for me, I keep hearing the song Twisted Sister. It's been playing in my frequency. I don't know if you know Twisted Sister. This is like old school, right? But it's, we're not gonna take it. No, we aren't gonna take it anymore. And then do, the song. I should have played it, but that's the best of my singing abilities. But so this is this inner independence that we have, and it's part of our instinct to survive and to thrive. And a lot of our gut instincts kind of come from here if we tune into that frequency. So I kind of actually, I'm going to be talking about the gut on my Sunday Change Your Star webisode series, the gut instincts. But this is just part of being human, and we kind of don't understand or even get it for that matter. It's kind of cosmic in all reality once I sit here and say it out loud, because we don't understand the frequency of the galactic grid or future possibilities, the ever waving unforeseeable futures. And we get confused on where it's like group identity in a way. So when I think back about high school and the cool table, the cool kids, I really wasn't upset that I wasn't at the table, because my heart inside of me, I just knew I didn't belong there because I'm too otherworldly. I'm too out there. So my queendom, my round table, my fortress, I keep it clean. I'm decluttering and I'm uncluttering all the time. That's called also shadow work. It's our shadow sides where we're always decomposing, and, it's like cleaning out in the spring and the fall, and, just bringing in the new, which we're entering also, curiously enough, is the Chinese New Year. So this is a great time to start reorganizing, cleaning out your clutter. Like, does this serve me or not? Does your heart love it? You always have to ask your heart, does your heart wear this? For me, it'd be clothes or shoes or whatever. Looks like somebody came to my door. But so these frequencies and energies in all reality are very real to me. I don't really talk a lot about my near-death experience, but that's just where I go. It's just a natural part of my aspect. So I pick up way too much, and my unfiltered mind just lets my viral tongue literally go free. So which will either wake you up or instigate change in your fortress, whether you like it or not, because we become familiar with things. So it's that unfamiliar, which is actually better for us, that we kind of subdivide from. So this is just a process of finding our own inner harmony within our souls and our spirit structure. So the galactic corridor, it's the flow of our energy centers, our outer field even. So it's kind of a theory, just the way God universe allows every person in the universe to create or manifest anything they want, and everything as well. It's just a lot of us are stuck, or at least maybe 50% of us are just kind of going with the flow it kind of congests, the heart and our beingness, our organ system, because we're not being authentic. It's kind of how disruptions manifest inside the body, because we don't want to shift and change the course of our river. We're not tuning into the frequency. So that's kind of what that is. So we sit and we wait and we wait and we wait. And it's actually stressing out our inner story, because this is not the life that you're meant to live in your choreography, like obeying. That's part of the reason I've stayed single so long, and I'm not interested in marriage, let alone a relationship, honestly, because my inner beingness doesn't belong in one, because I am an inner rebel, and I rebel against the current of, doing the flow of what everybody else is doing. So I like to just stay curious and question everything. I don't think we're doing that enough right now, because a lot of what's going on isn't making sense. So you just have to kind of become aware of everything that comes through space and time. So whatever it is you want to create or manifest, or it has a space and time is actually designated in God universe to actually bring you in whatever you want, but the timing has to be right in the space. So you have to give things certain time and space to know whether or not you get to manifest it. So everybody on the planet, the grid, can actually have your wish, but your heart, that inner beat vibration, that's actually the largest frequency that we all carry. Sometimes it shrivels down because we're not tuned into it. But if you belong doing something or being with somebody, your heart has to resonate to that frequency to actually bring it into your garden, so your sacred space. So it's from if your heart is centric and it's moving in its flow, like I've literally seen auras shift when somebody is truly in love. I've watched it literally go from green into a spiral, this effervescent green, and then into pink, and it just flows. It's like this river stream I don't know how to describe it, but it's totally amazing when you see that, because you feel it. It's like not just seeing what it's feeling. So your heart will resonate into this space, and it will determine if whatever it is positive or negative. It can be either way. That's kind of how we really create or attract whatever it is. It's an action. So you have to be in love with it. Like when I'm cooking, I can spend all day cooking because I'm loving the whole experience that goes behind it. So it's just the secret sauce in the law of attraction. So even Uranus, like if your heart desires to experience something, so for me, let's say you want to experience the wild frontier, well, then you belong in the open world of Mongolia and the reindeer people. That's where I brought back my shaman drum. You probably don't know about that, but totally an awesome experience. But culturally, people were afraid, projecting fear, because I was going, to a country. So you can't get on those timelines of fear. You have to grab your own wave, your own magic cosmic surfboard, and ride the frequency of what that looks like. So whatever it is you want to experience, your heart has to be invested and love it from that bubbly frequency. It's they're called joy molecules, actually, and get the bubble and the frequency going. And these bubbles inside of us can be any color. So I'm very visual. I tune into things visually first, colors, sound. I just think every body has their corridor that works for them. That's why I work with so many essential oils, crystals, tuning forks, because energetically every body tunes into a different modality for healing. So what works for me might not work for you. So I kind of have to play my cosmic soup thing. But just tuning into what your heart truly loves determines what does or doesn't belong. So God universe gives everything space and time available for every body in the grid to experience everything and anything they want. But you attract it through the frequency of your heart. That's why the heart is in your energy system. And there's different levels to the heart center chakra, beyond, the scope of this musing show. So God universe will, if you don't pay attention, God universe will do it for you. God universe will move bricks and stones, rivers, to get you on your organic timeline, I guess is what I say, your future path for your purpose. It's that's just God's natural order, or the universal laws that I subscribe to. So sometimes our egos get in the way. They can mess this all up for us. It's like, I remember when I was little, really little, after my coma, and my mom took me to the Mormon church, and I remember sitting there, and I don't even remember what he said, but I remember looking right at him. I think it was a bishop or something like that. And I looked right at him and was like, that's not true, because I'd been in the other dimension. So I knew what he was saying wasn't authentic, because spirit gives you these little triggers or hits kind of thing. So it's like one religion telling another religion who or what to pray to, like a sin thing. Like, it just gets cosmically crazy on that whole dimension. And I also don't believe that women belong serving men. I absolutely zero. That's a zero zone for me. And I don't believe poor people being repressed by rich people. I don't believe African Americans should be pulled over more than a white person. There's this cosmic clutter that needs to just be cleaned up. So you might be asking or wondering even for that. So how do you even know what any of this is, and how do I maybe have an opinion of it? So it's just the laws of spirit, really, the God universe, the galactic universe. So it's just the natural order is based on your heart centric, and the feeling frequencies and the vibrations, and what you do or you don't believe in. And that all comes back to your heart again, and what you believe in. It's kind of the first set of the Merkabah frequencies. You always have to be, we always, people don't tune into their heart. We quit being curious. We believe things based on what we're told. I have so many clients that are prescribed all these meds that they probably don't even need, because they just trust and believe in the doctor. It's a whole, your body knows. We don't tune into that frequency. But so the first set of the Merkabah that I've already kind of gone over, you can find it on my YouTube channel if you're watching me on Instagram. They're kind of long, but we always have to give time and space, our sacred space. I do a lot of rituals. I just did the new moon ritual last night. So I have an entire fairy garden I feed. I got my fairy dog. You can see on Instagram. You're not going to see it on this channel. Sorry, my table and camera is all kind of crazy. But most people don't create space and give things time and space that are sacred to what their village, their inner heart wants, or even your outer village. It could be your friends, family, your environment, whatever that looks like for you. So most people's hearts don't believe that women are here to serve men. That's kind of oppressing and depressing, right? Absolutely not. That's in my zero zone. Because my heart doesn't believe it, but sometimes the ego part of us pushes that for us. It's kind of like what we've been told to do, what our story and living on planet Earth looks like. So, that for me is like the push away zone, being told what to do or to obey. It probably causes me discomfort in some ways, but that's my inner rebel inside, because my heart knows I don't belong in that space being told what to do. And I'm absolutely sure your heart knows that as well. Do most people believe and feel their heart that people should be homeless and poor? Absolutely not. But I can't say I think it, but somebody out there might. But if you had a conversation with your heart-centric space, in your heart, I have empathy and compassion for the situation. It's just, we as a community in a village, we just don't want to pay for it, right? So we have to think outside of our fluent, programming, what that could look like to create a village where, you help somebody get on their feet, which is difficult anyway. I don't know why I'm going there, but you have to just have this conversation with your heart on, does this belong here? Do you believe it? And the answer, most of the time the answer is no. And a lot of this gets based on fear because we're not tuning into this heart centric space that is like huge. It's larger than life itself, really. And if you were to ask your heart, climb into your skin of your heart, it might tell you that everything's fine. And people, they cross boundaries because they do that. People cross boundaries. They do wrong things basically because they're not tuning into the frequency of their heart. But later, they're going to feel bad, maybe some guilt or some other thing, because people do villainous, cruel things in certain times and space because they're not tuning into their village in their own heart, So, yeah, I wouldn't want, do unto yourself first before you do unto others. And you have to just tune into your heart space and listen to what your heart says. I don't believe people who do these cruel things are tuning into their heart, but I believe the cosmic conscious grid are talking before their heart space. So all of the world's atrocities and bigger things that are happening out there are due to the inner rebel maybe isn't being validated or listened to within their own soul story. So they have to cosmically source that out because they're not listening to this heart centric, which is the vast modality, and they're listening to other parts of themselves and frequenting these parts, whether it's fears, which is a net zero frequency based on controls or, commitments. Or maybe they're listening to wars on violence. My thing is stay away from mainstream media. That's like creating cosmic clutter on the frequencies, I'll tell you. Seriously, it's stressing the village out in a way. So you just stay away from that. Even listening to the inner child inside of us, our little toddler, my little 2-year-old. That's what I say Diddy is. My little 2-year-old, he always wants me to pick him up. But if you're ignoring these aspects of who you are, and then you feel in turmoil, like for me, through all this cosmic chaos, I can feel it. I feel it inside. So that's, when I become a recluse. Also, I'm a reflector in human design. So being a recluse is better for me to heal the frequencies of other people as well. I have to kind of, I want to say purge that out energetically. So we're heading into this cosmic age of Aquarius with Uranus. So this shift is on. It's super exciting. So it's just an aspect of what we're going to learn about ourselves. It's the art of what does or doesn't fit in the puzzle piece. I would say don't feel bad if you feel confused, because I think every one of us are kind of confused right now. I've been watching this like a movie, eating popcorn from the streams above. Visions are totally intense right now. So it's just moving out of the realm of Pisces, which is the ocean, which really is the galaxy, the outer galaxy. And then we have the ocean here in the physical world. So all of these aspects of us have been drawn in by our perceptions of God, reality, universe, the greater spirit, like whatever you want to call it, because we haven't been connected to the source, the oneness of what love really is. And we really haven't been looking to our heart space to lead us. So in simple fluid terms, I would say if an idea or a notion doesn't come or originate from our inner heart space, it doesn't belong in the universe or God universe's creation. Zip, like zero, period. So you just need to always tune into your heart centric first, because your heart will show you, and it needs to be doing all the determining, all the instigations, because the heart will actually shift you where you do belong, or from, where you don't belong. It'll move you if you pay attention to it. The house I'm in right now, it was total heart based. I wasn't looking for a house, but God universe sent it to me. This is kind of the frequency of this trinity of belongingness. So we kind of all move up from the core of our purpose, which is our source of our soul, and creating it and making it real. So as we enter into a new stage of what this enlightenment looks like, we need to understand the secret and to just break it down in some kind of physical aspect. It's your own kind of secret sauce. Like I said at the beginning of this series, it might be a great exercise to create something in your life, whatever it is you want to manifest a change for, or just looking into your soul story, your soul garden, the source of who you are. So your soul story, it has to come from your heart and it needs to feel right. Otherwise, we end up where we don't belong. I see relationships like this all the time because they let another aspect talk themselves into the love space, mostly because people are afraid of being alone or shifting out of a negative space because they don't know there's magic on the other side of the fear. That's why we end up in situations that we don't belong in. I'm not afraid to leave a space because I feel the frequency, and generally I'll hear a story of what happened after I left. It's usually some kind of cosmic fight or a shift shows going on, because that's how you discover that you don't belong there, is in these instances where this happens. And God Universe will actually put you on your path, on your map story, to put you where you do belong, going on your conscious river stream. So my soul literally knows where I do and I don't belong. I tune into the frequency and I literally have those God universe conversations all the time. If you think about sorry, my Siura mask is itching. If you think about the movie Simon, I don't know if you've seen that. It's a great show, but Simon always knew he had a purpose. Like God universe, he had a purpose. He was this little cute kid. I totally recommend to see that. It's old, but my son loves it. You know, there's always great shows out there, but that's kind of how this works. It's going to break us down, break us down, break us down over time. It's like brick and mortar kind of thing. And then that's just when you upcycle, is when you, like, I get the breakdown a lot and then I get the breakthrough later. So it's kind of this all or nothing sort of deal. And that's what's interesting is this rebel inside of us is actually an aspect of who we are that will literally sabotage us and literally make a situation fall apart if we're on the wrong path. So it's our cosmic highway that literally will bring us down. We kind of get these waves of bumps in order to get us on the right path. And it can be very challenging and restructuring. It's kind of like getting remodeling, to say the least, right? So just a few things to remember, because I've been rambling for a while. So just always know that you have to give things time and space that are sacred to you and to your heart space, and tune into your feelings. If something makes you feel guilty, or I should just say shizzy, you probably shouldn't do it, because your feelings, you know, they're the frequency that kind of alerts us to things. So did these other wavelengths. It's just not like we can sit in meditation 24/7, right? So just our feelings and our beliefs, because we most, you know, our beliefs come from our family of origin, more than likely, or timelines or lifetimes. Karmic patterns, you know, need to be cleaned up from their shift show too. So if it's not based on an idea or any laws, it's this, the best way to describe this sensation of, it's a feeling outside of us, actually. So you have to kind of observe actions in a way. All of this kind of comes later to the frequency to get you on your life path and your journey. So just choosing, you know, if your heart's rebelling, then you probably don't belong there. And that's what belong? Where do you belong? What does that feel like? So you're only going to know if you're on the right path by the love you feel for something. So it is what it is when you feel it, and it is what it is when you believe it. That's it. So it's kind of like your heart's invested. It's your heart centric aspect of yourself. It's what you feel inside of you. Our feelings are actually energetically, they're connected to our organ system. So when an organ is not working to its highest good, it's, there's a feeling associated with the organ, whatever that is. Fear is lower, scarcity, adrenal kind of feelings. But I always know there's magic on the other side of fear. So I would have you say that too, and just ask the conscious question, like, what is it I fear? And God universally usually send you a memo, tell you to climb back in your skin. But if I don't believe something is true, I can't authentically, it's a spiritual truth. And that's kind of the only way you're going to know if you're on your right path. However, there is another mistake that people do. I see it all the time. It happened for me. So that's where we have the opportunity to look into our lives and just understand just different parts of our cosmic grid. They're usually what gets in the way of our true heart's desires. In other words, we kind of skip aspects of ourselves. We skip waves, which can be fun, but honestly, we're not running our show. Something else is. So we kind of jump to conclusions. We jump to different ideas before we really kind of analyze our heart's aspect or the feelings we get. So I'm always sensing and feeling into things and beliefs. I've kind of choreographed my own story there. And it sets the frequencies and the neurons in our brain and our nervous system. That's the thing I was trying to come up with. So all this happens before this inner rebel or motivator inside of us. So you might feel that, hey, I belong, say, in this relationship, or maybe whatever that looks like for you, like you belong being a pro golfer. That's not my story, but that's kind of a label of what that looks like. And it's based on, what we see in our cosmic highway or village, physical earth stuff or other things. So the feeling is you belong, right? Because that's the feeling you get. So you kind of have to disintegrate the beliefs. Like I have people, especially relationships, it's easy. The star grid, make a list of all the positive attributes you liked about XYZ and take their negatives and shift them to a positive so you can attract that frequency in your love story. So if you actually belong feeling about the feeling you get. So if it's not a positive feeling, then you've downgraded yourself and you need to upcycle. So it's a whole conscious thing. So this is kind of how vision boards work as well. If that's your thing, vision boards work for some people. Some people can scry in water. It's just how this whole thing looks like. Or, what we think it looks like. So you have to have this feeling and this connection because you belong feeling like everybody. And this is kind of how our reputations can get hacked, actually, is through the feeling. It's a frequency you put out there. It's like dogs know when somebody's coming to the front door before anyone's arrived at your front door because there's a feeling and a frequency that they tune into. A tree will know a breeze is coming before the breeze comes because it's in the frequency. So what happens is this experience leads to similar experiences that are up leveling. So it's this early stage of creation at this point. So it's just a feeling that you want to feel. And probably the biggest problem is people in love, because that's the garden. It's our heart. So, you might believe, I've had this happen before because I do divinations, I do readings for people, and people believe they belong with a certain person, male or female, it doesn't really matter. And they just know that this person was born for them. They've been waiting. And organically, I would say absolutely no. It's the feeling that resonated with you when you're in the presence of that person, and the feeling that you get when you feel the love with them. So you just kind of have to see what the universe brings to you and for you to make it happen. So one of the downfalls is you have to actually wait and see, and your heart will kind of discover this for you, and it'll show you the messages. Again, we just don't listen to those messages. So it'll tell you if you belong in this direction, but you're not going to know until later after you've jumped on that river. So if you're going to decide and you don't really have all the information or the facts or the creation, whatever it is you want to modulate. So it's in this process of this frequency when you have to go with what comes and kind of follow through. And the reason why is we often have a blind spot, or we're looking in the rearview mirror. And I believe it's because we don't have these heart conversations that I talked about in the first aspect of this Trinity of the Merkabah. We're starting actually just to get to know our heart space, and we literally have zero clue if what shows up is really, a high frequency for us. So you kind of have to see it through on these consciousness streams. You're going to get hurt, right? I know my last breakup, I dropped 100 pounds, talked about, I looked like a Nazi war camp victim. It was horrifying. But, you start over, you go back to stage one and start the process all over. But once you start understanding your heart space, this heart-centric aspect of who you are, and I source people up, I don't put them in Merkabahs so much anymore, but your own sphere of influence is what I would call it. It's an energetic field. But once you start tuning into the frequency of your heart, then this is where you can identify if an aspect belongs, whether it's a job, a career, a person, a house, a car, whatever that is, whatever that looks like for you. And once you truly figure this out, and your heart is like having an identification with, ooh, that lights me up, right? That's where you have to sphere it up and protect it. Some people fail at the protection space. I had a client years ago. He forgot to nurture his wife, basically. He'd forgotten the little things. Little things always turn into big things. Anyway, he forgot the little things, and of course, we all know how that happened. So the relationship ended, blah, blah, blah. So it's just the aspect of saying that this is what belongs with you. It only belongs if it makes you feel really bubbly, those joy molecules. And then, when you're in the frequency and you're in the flow, you start attracting your equal or a higher vibration. And sometimes we unconsciously push things away. We sabotage ourselves because we don't like the feeling, because we're stuck in the fear, which, remember, magic is always on the other side. So we have to kind of choreograph the story of that we want to live. Some people, we all do this differently. Like I said, some people do vision boards. Some people can write the story. Some people can just tune into their heart. Some people meditate, whatever it is for you. I do rituals all the time just to stay in the frequency. So, if it feels good and you go along with it, then you kind of start committing and deciding. And over time, you're not really loving the aspect or the experience, because then it's not feeling good because you set it up on a false foundation. So that's where time and space really come in. If somebody truly loves you, I told my one client she couldn't do the business. She could just hang out with the guy for like 3 months, and she did it. She told him no because, it was sacred. So they're married now, but she did adhere to what I told her. She didn't just jump right into the relationship, because that's why people stay in relationships that they're not happy in, is because they're not tuning into the frequency of their heart. They're obeying, which you know how I feel about obey. So, they know the situation is chaos, and they know they don't belong in it. They're not tuning into what they feel, and they're not listening to their heart. And they know inside it's not working, and they know they don't belong. Again, this could be, it could be a car, a house, a career. It's huge. But we ignore this aspect inside of us, and we know this aspect, but we just tune it out of the frequency. And then eventually God universe is going to smack us and get us fired or in a car wreck or whatever to get us to listen to the frequency and the vibration. And a lot of people, they just actually fear being alone, like I said, and the fear of being alone and being alone with themselves. So they, they just stay in those relationships, and they know they don't belong, and they're hoping for a different outcome. It doesn't feel good. This is kind of how the organ system kind of has that thing, and you're not loving the story. You don't believe in the story. I've been places, like I said, I knew I didn't belong and I've left. And that's just because you're not protecting your sphere, who you are, your beingness, the nature of who you are and your beingness and your grid. So you just have to make sure that all of this cosmic grid lines up and that you actually do belong in whatever story, your village you're trying to create. So just another example that's popping in, it's kind of the opposite way. This is where you're totally in love with some aspect or idea, and you want to create a nice, juicy love romance novel. You want to be a writer, and you just feel it inside of you, and you're going down your journey on your path, and maybe your parents, your friends, maybe haters on social media, and they tell you that whatever you're doing sucks and you're never going to make it. It's kind of like your shift show. It can't be done, right? Because people don't want us to upcycle. So, but if your heart-centric self, and you're feeling and you're seeing the stories written out and you're just doing it, and you're going to be a writer, this is actually where you have to boundary up. Last year, I did an entire season just about boundaries, different types of boundaries. You have to boundary up, because there are people out there that are going to be haters. They consciously don't want you to upcycle because they want you to stay in their conscious river stream and the ocean of that river that's not so high vibey. So if your inner believer believes it's true, you feel it's true, God universe has your back, you're feeling the frequency, you have to protect yourself from other people. That's why boundaries are huge. And this is actually where that rebel inside of us rises up, and you really just don't give a shift what these people are doing for you, because they're at a lower frequency of vibration. So this is just your life story. This is why I created Change Your Stars, the rebel inside, where you fight for your inner spiritual truths and what that looks like. This rebel will literally fight, for the cause, James Dean. So just don't be afraid. This is just where you have to literally power up. It's like rebooting your computer, and just stay aligned with your heart space. And again, there's just a sequence you have to kind of go through, just tuning into your heart first. And, I tune into my heart all the time, because my heart's not going to lie to me. My heart doesn't want to hurt my feelings ever, right? So loving yourself is a thing as well. You have to love yourself first, even to create soul capital. That's like where God universe hands you like the golden nugget. So we just tune into other people's frequencies sometimes, and they're kind of the jury, and we just can't have that be our jury. We have to stick with our heart's jury. So just remember, you have to find something that's sacred to your soul, because if something is sacred to you, you're going to protect it. Sir Didymus is sacred to me. My son is sacred to me. We take care of those things that are precious and sacred, and our heart loves it. And if your heart-centric, that aspect of side of us loves this, and if you truly love it inside of you, then you feel giddy inside. That's where the joy molecules start bumping up. And when the joy molecules start bumping up, then our beliefs kind of come in, and then you start asking yourself, oh, do I believe this is true? And then you can have a conversation with God at that point, or Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it, your dog, whatever that looks like for you. And when I say believe, I mean truly believe in your heart aspect. So I knew in my heart I couldn't belong to any forms of religion because I truly don't believe in them based on my experience being in my coma. It just didn't resonate. My heart frequency just feels they're off in their authenticity. Not so much probably the religion itself, maybe the people. I don't know. I just don't delve into that. I don't want to dive into that stream. And if you do, that's, then your heart says you belong there in that village. But it's just been my experience that where you belong in a village just shows up almost instantly. I know Malidoma, I just kept seeing him in my third eye visually. That's why I knew he was the shaman, the elder I'm to work with. So it's just tuning into that frequency. And if you tune into a frequency that doesn't resonate and your outer village isn't showing you, that's usually when chaos kind of tumbles down the tower. So just know once you complete, like your heart's invested and you're loving it and your joy molecules are bursting inside of you, then, you kind of feel into the frequency. And then you kind of, that's kind of how the law of attraction, it's like this unseen force you can't see that comes to you. And there's just a process that starts happening, and it can be instant or it can be slow. Just depends on your stream of your river, if you're really on that surfboard and you're tuning in. And sometimes we end up where we don't belong, which is actually an explosion just waiting to happen. So you just kind of need to understand where your village is. Basically, the universe will manifest whatever it is as soon as this heart-centric space knows it believes in it. It gives you that booming frequency. So, you can meet whoever you need on this conscious river stream. And that's kind of the beginning of the next phase, is if you're not getting a response from the universe, nothing, zillion, then you're failing at your heart space or your feelings. You're skipping your heartbeat and you're not listening to your little 2-year-old inside of yourself. Or you haven't taken time and space. You haven't, given it a pause for inner peace. That's one of my virtues, is peace, joy, and happiness and integrity, number 1. But if you're not really feeling something and, you don't believe it, then wishes turn into dishes. So it's some sort of, negative response from the universe or nothing. So one of those things aren't working. So it's literally out of sync in your cosmic grid, because beliefs are huge. You just have to make sure they're your beliefs, not maybe a conscious river stream from a past belief, another timeline. So once it shows up for you, like my house showed up for me, that's when we bring in the articles of declaration. So that was a long, juicy show today. So thanks for showing up. I'm multitasking. And be sure to join me on Sunday for Change Your Stars. This one's going to be about empathic and our feeling sisters. It's our kinesthetics. I try to keep them to about an hour. Sometimes I run over to an hour and a half. So yeah, it's my Change Your Stars webisode. Be sure to take my quiz, Change Your Stars. It's just about incorporating your intuitive gifts. We all have them. Opening your own galactic treasure box and putting the stream and the story to work. So, Ashe, thanks for joining me. I did a multi-thing, so I was trying to look at 2 screens. It's kind of hilarious. And this is Siura. I'll talk about this little village. This is something from Elder Malidoma, doing some of my rituals and shamanism. It's a whole nother deal, but it's might as well just wrap a little bit. It's indigenous technologies and the conscious stream. So if you have questions about him or want to work with him, he's amazing. I highly recommend him. I learned the cosmology, the divinations, the cowrie shell through Malidoma. I've been working with him for over 5 years. So I just stay on that thread. But again, it was God universe that guided me, that put me in that space. And my heart, obviously, it bumps for joy there. Same with my the light I work with. The company there was all total vision. So it's just a matter of tuning into your frequency and your visions. So with all of that, thanks for tuning in. I rabbled for a while. So ashe and blessings to everybody. I'll see you on the other side. Inshallah. Oh my God.